So as we continue on in our scientific investigation, it is important to conduct background research. This leads to defining the purpose or objective for the investigation. So always the overall goal of a scientific investigation is to answer a question. From here, we want our observations to lead to our question and our question to lead to research. This is research that has already been found out about this question. So what do other people already know? And this will help us define our purpose. Our purpose or objective is a statement that clearly shows what question you're trying to answer in your investigation. As we move on to constructing a hypothesis, this is what we think is going to happen. So a hypothesis is a testable prediction based on observations. So it is, yes, more than a guess. And that describes a cause and effect relationship between variables. So we will always set our hypothesis up in this same format. So it will always be if your independent variable, then your dependent variable. So your IV is your independent variable, and this is the cause portion of the relationship, and the DV is your dependent variable, or the effect portion of the relationship. As we set up our experiment, it's important to define what your variables are. Our independent variable, or our IV, is what the experimenter will deliberately change or manipulate in the investigation. The IV is usually on the x-axis of a graph, and it should be the only thing different between the experimental groups. So if you look at our example, you want to do an experiment to see if what you drink before a race affects how quickly we run. So we want to identify what our independent variable is. So this is what we are changing or manipulating. So you would be changing what they are drinking. The second variable that we have is the dependent variable. And the dependent variable is what changes in response to the independent variable. The DV is on the y-axis of the graph, and it's usually represented by the data that you collect in an investigation. Or this is what is being measured. So if we recall our running experiment where you're changing the drink, what we would measure in that experiment would be the time in which they run the race.